Hi, everybody. A special show number 647. We're not live, but I'm calling this a special FOSI feature, and we're featuring John Emmett, our esteemed super FOSI, an Olympic coach from Great Britain, and his wife, Lily Zhu, originally from China, now living, of course, in Great Britain as well. Two videos, one from a few years ago when Lily was getting her master's degree at Southampton Solent University in broadcast journalism and TV. And she calls this the story of a coach, of a sailing coach by Lily Zhu. And of course, featuring her now husband, then coach, John Emmett. And the second video is a terrific, more recent video, equally terrific, by Lily. And it's at our request. Actually, I asked if she would please interview John about his current life and times as a coach, which she happily did. Enjoy.
Hello, I'm a Chinese sailor, Shi Lijia. These are the two Olympic medals I won in 2008 and 2012. One of the contributors is my English coach, John Emmett. As I walked through the exhibit window at China Maritime Museum, where I donated all my medals and career-related stuff, I started to reflect how John helped me to reach the top of sailing world. Today, I'd like to walk into his life to find out how he became an elite coach as well as a world champion sailor himself.
I started sailing with the Nautical Training Corps. That was one of the activities they did. The ship, that's my group in his Grinstead, it's called TS Resolution.
Sailing, he had a go here at Weirwood Reservoir in a boat with me in a Wayfarer, but then he got very keen when he went on a whole week sailing with school down at Cobner Activity Centre. I could see that he had something. I wasn't overly excited to start with because it was 6 people in one boat, and I didn't feel I had a lot of responsibility, whereas single-handed sailing, you get it wrong, there's no one to blame. And at one point I sailed a boat called an RS700 where you single-handedly sail, trapeze, and you have an asymmetric spinnaker, and certainly there's no one to blame if it all goes wrong. It's all on you. But I did enjoy sailing two-man boats, 49er, Tornado, etc., because for somebody my size as a male, that's the route to the Olympic classes. When he won an award down at Cobner as a promising sailor, it was the Martin Beale Award. He got the first one that they offered. They said, what was his ambition in sailing? And he said, I want to sail for my country. I thought, well, that's rather nice, okay. And in fact, he did the following year when he went to the Youth Worlds in Japan. That's when I really started to enjoy it, sailing. Cawley Sailing Club, which is on Hedgecourt Lake, very close to Imberhorn Farm, and I just did as much as I could before moving to Weirwood, who very kindly made me an honorary life member, and I still sign on for them all the time. And indeed, I was down there with their youth sailors.
I think it's really good. He really helps us improve, and all sort of, he really knows how to sort of like focus on little bits and really help you improve quickly, and he can like really pinpoint exactly what you need to improve on.
So I think the coaching's really good, and he picks up lots of things whilst you're still on the water, so you don't need to wait to the debrief to know what you're doing wrong. But yeah, great coaching.
It's really good. The focus is a lot on like the sailing instead of just theory, which is good because you get a lot of practice.
It was a really good training group. Individually, I did some training with Ben in preparation for the Youth Worlds, not the Olympics. The training partner was Mark Littlejohn. And to be fair, just like Ben Ainsley and the Laser, they were clearly a lot better than me at that time. The group of people I came from is just amazing. I mean, I was the same club as Rob Greenhow, Peter Greenhow. Good chance Rob Greenhow is going to win the Volvo Ocean Race at the moment in Maffrey. And Simon Hiscox, he did 2 Olympic medals. You know, people like Ben Ainsley and Andrew Simpson and Ian Percy, Paul Goddison, Hugh Stiles, Edward Wright. They're all names that anyone who follows sailing would know. And I think being in such a group really helps. My role as training partner really started more in 2000 in the Europe for Shirley. That I was a perfect size for. I think probably the reason I became a training partner for Shirley Robertson was that both Shirley Robertson and Ben Ainsley wanted Paul Goodison to be the training partner. His body weight somewhere in the middle, a bit light for laser, a bit heavy for Europe, very good sailor, based in Southampton, absolutely perfect. And you know, he's been an Olympic gold medalist, so no end of talent. But for Paul, I think the decision was pretty easy. He's a laser sailor, so he wanted to sail with Ben. And I was just finishing my degree at that time. Literally, I handed in my personal design project, having had approximately 5 days of no sleep, and then drove down to Hayling Island to start working with Mark Littlejohn and Shirley. I was young, I was fit, I was the right body weight, and I was really keen to go sailing after doing so much studying for a year. So I think a lot of the girls will have male training partners or male coaches, just because that dynamic works very well. After 2000, I had a huge amount of coaching work, so I was driving around the country coaching young sailors with the RYA squads. I worked with quite a few people before the British trials to help them win, and I also worked very much as a training partner for Laura Baldwin, who came from outside the system to get the Olympic spot that year. And when she qualified in Cadiz, then she's going to be supported by the Royal Yachting Association.
The greatest thing about John was his holistic approach to development of an athlete, the fact that he could cover every area of the sport. He had studied physiology himself. He'd had to make himself much bigger to be competitive for his own sailing, and I was in the same situation. I was too small for the boat. I had to get bigger. So he knew the right weight training and physical training and the nutrition to build yourself up to be the competitive size to race in a boat. He knew how to make the boat go fast. So sailing with him, against him, he was always beating me, which was good competition, and then teaching me how to be sailing the boat the same as him. He was also a friend, a mentor, a companion.
I mean, the Swiss job I had for 2008 started me working with one girl called Corinne who wanted to win the trials, and she improved quite a lot. And the other girl, Natalie, decided that she wanted me, so I did some work with her and she improved. And then the Federation contacted me directly and said, well, we want you to work for both. That's difficult, really, when one girl's going to go and one girl isn't. She got the qualification, she hiked super hard, and she got it in the very last race. And interestingly, all that relief, Nat went out and partied and had a lovely time. I was absolutely mentally exhausted. I think I went to bed at 9 o'clock. It's like she took my energy in the final day. But it just shows how connected you are to your athlete. So after 2008, I carried on working for the Swiss, but I was asked by the Chinese to do some work for them as well. So I did one regatta, sail for gold with the Swiss, and then one regatta, the Olympic test event with the Chinese. And it was a good regatta, finishing fourth, winning the medal race. Everybody was very happy, and then it carried on from there. Prior to Olympics, I thought there was a very good chance of gold, because there was 4 people who were all very close, and looking at the weather forecast, it really didn't suit Leisure. It was just going to be a strong wind regatta, and we'd done a lot of work physically, but compared to her rivals, that was going to be difficult. But I think it all worked out in the end, but there was a lot of barriers that made it much more difficult than it needed to be.
I feel very privileged to be part of the Games, so I give everything with all of my heart. And I wanted to give a special thanks to John Emmett.
I met John Emmett in 2006 in LA for the Laser Radio World Championship, and then I read his book in 2009, Coach Yourself to Win, and Be Your Own Sailing Coach, and Be Your Own Tactics Coach. I think as a coach, what makes him very unique is that he still sail and compete himself, so he knows clearly what we sailors feel, and he really listens to the sailor's voice and then make us sailor feel that he's really helping us in the right way. Compared with all other coaches I've worked with, he's among the best. So hopefully in future he can work with more elite sailors and help more sailors realize their dream.
Well, at the moment I'm working with Tula from Finland, and I'm very, very happy because I realise how nice it is. There's no barriers from within the team. In fact, it feels very much like a family. Indeed, a lot of them seem to be married. Meteorologist is married to the media and this sort of thing, and most of them have kids. So yeah, I'm really enjoying that atmosphere. Being able to be a training partner and coach, I think it's very useful because you have good empathy for the sailor. I mean, I still raced my Worlds that year. I had not a lot of time, but I still did, top 10 at the Worlds. And I think that understanding of the racing, it really helps. And it must be very hard for coaches to coach who don't sail. As I get older, probably spending more time as a coach, less time as a training partner, or rather more time in a rib and less time in a boat. But that's such an important part of it to me, to have that balance. Just like at uni, you need to have the social life as well as the studying. I think as a coach, you need to practice what you preach. Mentally, I'm very strong to help the sailors I work with because I understand the pressure that they're under. And I think that's what's probably kept me in the sport. Just got a huge desire to achieve moving forward.
I'm very proud of him, and now he's worked from learning how to sail when he was an early teenager and just keeping going until he's now a coach and an Olympic coach, which is rather an amazing achievement.
Well, coaching is an Olympic gold medal. I think that's probably the pinnacle which anyone would agree on. I think for me, winning World Championships, first World Championship 2008, I think that's probably the biggest thing. The biggest sacrifice for coach is just time away from friends, family and loved ones. You need to spend those days away to get the results you need. The benefits of being a coach, well, I just love it. I travel the world doing my hobby for a living. I'm always going to do everything I can to promote the sport in any way I can. A lot of people work in the background to make things as successful as they can be. It's one of the reasons I've been on the laser committee in the UK for over a decade, because I want to give something back to the sport.
Hi Tom, Julia and all the FOSI. Today we have something different, a different taste for you all. And according to your request, I will leading the chat with John tonight. You're still in your wetsuit. How's the club racing tonight?
Well, I've literally just got off the water, and actually this is one of the easiest ones I've done because I haven't had to think about what I'm going to say, what I'm going to prepare, because Lily's just going to ask me some questions. But I've literally just done the race. In fact, I can see the toppers are still racing, and I'm a bit worried when I went past one poor little topper. I ducked them as they were on starboard and I was on port. I went behind and then tacked on the ley line. And then as I went round the mark, it meant the poor little topper couldn't actually go the correct side of the mark. And I felt very, very sorry for him, but it all happened so quickly. So I hope there's a young sailor there who's not really upset. I'll go have a chat.
You try to do as much as possible for those club racing, right? But from my observation, I would say there's no single ILCA sailor or members whose level is any way near to you. Will you still find the club racing beneficial for your level?
Well, the Monday night is fantastic because we do really short course racing, so it's a bit of a mess out there. But I found myself really thinking about the boat-to-boat tactics. So I had a scorpion or whatever, which is higher and faster upwind, and how I position myself relative to them to keep my air clear. And actually, I lapped all the other ILCAs because it's such a short course, so you have that practice going through the boats. But I mean, I'm getting on a bit, but I'm still sailing at quite a high level, and I won the nationals and so on. So when you get to the top, you're always going to have that. And I do try and train with the British sailing team when they're there, because I think it's mutually beneficial. It helps them. I would like to think, and it definitely helps me. And it's nice to put the hiking miles in your legs in a fun way. But yeah, I really enjoy it, and I think it's very important to put back into the club, because there were good sailors at Weirwood, my first club, when I first started, and they helped me improved a lot. And literally going around the cans and having that focus, I think makes a huge difference compared to just pottering around on your own.
Yeah, and we know your main profession is a sailing coach, But in my eye, you still train like an Olympian, going to the gym, cycling every day, and sail as much as you can when you're not coaching. Why are you still so gung-ho in sailing actively yourself, competitively, and then doing all those events from nationals, Europeans to the worlds, from senior to the masters, and maybe if the youth is open event, you will do the youth as well.
In fact, I did do that once about 10 years ago. The youth qualification included some open events, and I think I actually won the youth because I was able to not count the result that I wasn't eligible to race in. But that was probably 20 years ago with Charlotte Dobson's time and all the rest of it. I really enjoy it. And I think when you talk philosophically, it's if you enjoy doing something, it's much easier to do a good job. So the man who enjoys walking is actually going to walk further than the man who's just worried about the destination and where they're trying to get to. I also think it's important to keep fit. And there's a lot of very talented coaches out there, probably more talented than me, but you can probably guess how long they've been coaching by how many extra kilos they've put on each year, because, you know, I like a beer, I like a curry, and, you know, I need to spend time on the bike and on the water to get rid of that. In fact, you can probably tell my ratio of time in the rib to time in the Ilka by my waistline. And then in terms of my age, I mean, I have the shock of my life every morning when I wake up and see the grey beard. I still consider myself to be 18, 19, 20. And I can remember, you know, race 3 of the Youth Nationals in 1995 at Largs Sailing Club. And it really doesn't seem that long ago. Yeah, so it's important to do what you like. And one thing which the pandemic taught me, apart from the fact that I was amazed who was not capable of wearing a mask, having come from a chemical engineering background and working with hazardous chemicals and N95s, was just how bad it was for mental health not to be busy. So it's like anxiety. You don't want to be too nervous before an event, too much anxiety, but you don't want to be too relaxed. You want to be somewhere in the middle. And it's definitely the same for people being not at all busy or very, very busy is not good for us either. And there's a sweet spot somewhere in the middle. But for myself, I would say I probably function best just on the edge of burnout. And you know yourself from Olympic campaign, to be successful, you just have to put the time in. I think I said in the last piece, there's a really good book called Bounce about table tennis championships, and it's just that old cliche, time on the water. So yeah, I've got to pack the boat tomorrow, but if I can, I will get another 2-3 hours in.
And speaking of keeping yourself busy, we know the upcoming winter month is not any quiet for you, and you're already planning for events, for coaching. Maybe you can keep us updated of what's in store for the next few months.
I definitely will. I mean, the big plan at the moment is the Worlds, and I'm hoping to either support the Emerging Nations programme or find a top sailor who wants that one-to-one support, but we'll see how it goes. It's quite late in the cycle. But we've got Argentina, followed immediately by Australia. Well, hopefully see you, if you recognise me. And that is a big chunk of time, so there's no downtime really this winter. And I think in October time I'm still going to do the British qualification events that would entitle me to go to World and European Championships next year if I can. And yeah, really looking forward to Olympic Games and everything that brings, and I'm very happy to stand in front of a camera and try and promote the sport as much as possible. Although I have empathy for the sailors, I'm now pretty keen to get out of my wetsuit, pack my boat up before it's dark, and
I think we got
cider.
another good 10 minutes before it's getting dark, and because I still have some questions lined up, I'll keep it as short as possible. So apart from coaching, sailing, and I guess nobody would have gone unnoticed that you're doing a lot of interviews to sailors and creating highlight videos. And nowadays, quite often I've been asked, hey Lily, John's following your footsteps and doing media work now. I said, no. He's only doing it as a hobby. Maybe you can use this opportunity to explain yourself in a clear way, because I know deep inside your heart, you still put coaching as your main priority.
I only see myself as a coach, but it started in 2020 in Melbourne. Really important championship, Olympic qualifier, great guy there called James Mitchell. There wasn't really any content in the way of interviews. I said I know the fleet, happy to help out, and just be careful what you say, because I then ended up doing that for the next 3 or 4 years. I really enjoy the chatting to the sailors. I don't particularly enjoy sitting in front of a computer, but I think for somebody like Tulu in the last campaign, it worked really well, because sailors need that decompression time. That time to, you know, shower, change, pack the boat, maybe have something to eat before the enthusiastic coach jumps on them and tell them what they did well and what they did wrong. So it was quite nice just to disappear off for that 20 minutes. And generally speaking, if you talk to somebody who've had a good day in the office, they're always very happy to talk to you. Next event will be the Masters Europeans, and there's so many good personalities there. I think I've probably got the first 2 interviews lined up, and probably it's good for my tummy as well, because it's maybe 2 less beers, because I have a bit of editing and a bit of time before we rush off. But I think it's important to promote the sport, and if I can continue to do that, but obviously absolutely put in the coaching first, very happy to do so, and I'd really encourage other people to do the same.
And then speaking of coaching, you are actually available to get some invitation. And maybe you can tell us what's the most ideal scenario. In other words, what type of sailors that you are most interested to coach, and what do you think you can help them the most?
It sounds like you're trying to get to get rid of it. I mean, it's actually incredibly simple. People talk about motivation. In a sense, motivation doesn't exist. It's very easy to be motivated if everything's good. It's very hard to be motivated when everything's bad. It's about discipline, and disciplined people win. That's the Arnold Schwarzeneggers who train at 5 o'clock in the morning because they want a bicep that's 1 inch bigger than everybody else. That's the discipline. Nobody likes training at 5 o'clock in the morning, but if that's what you have to do to beat your rivals. My generation, you know, Ben Ainsley, incredibly talented sailor, he just put so many hours in, and having that discipline. And then in terms of the personality, I think you need to be like a sponge. So if you have the water of knowledge being given to you, just to be willing to accept it and absorb it, because the worst thing as a coach is to pour all the emotion and all the effort and all the expertise, and then it just runs off a stone, and you think, I didn't really take any of that in. And it is hard in the heat of battle, and it's emotional, and I do try and pick my moment. Some sailors can talk to me straight after the finish, by the finishing vessel. Some just want a banana, and they'll meet me at the committee boat 5 minutes later, and then they're probably open to communication. I am very direct because I always want to put the information out there and feel I've said what I need to say. But yeah, it's just about aspiration and putting in the hard work. I mean, for me, working with some sailors who just made it to Olympic Games was just as big an achievement in some respects as getting a medal, which you were always on target for, I think, unless something went wrong. And in terms of my own capability, I'm a bit of a jack of all trades, because I do the fitness, nutrition, the psychology, and I seem to end up helping out a lot with the coach regattas now as well. But that's it. I mean, I've just been lucky. People always come to me. I'm always around the boat park. People know who I am, and I think with the Emerging Nations programme, you know, I'm always learning and lots of new experiences. And one of the things as well with sailing myself, I like to think I'm pretty empathetic for those sailors who've had a Rule 42 or a black flag or in a protest. But yeah, that's me. I think everyone on Sailing Illustrated knows me pretty well now anyway.
So good luck to find a sailor that for your, how many Olympic campaigns you've done? The 8th Olympic campaign, though in different roles. Yeah, so hopefully you can find your ideal sailor, and then you can help them achieve their Olympic dream like you helped me. And that's it for today. I hope you don't find it too long or too bored to sleep. And yeah, maybe see you next time. It's now your turn to leave us some comments. Bye for now.
I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Those both videos, terrific videos. Thanks, John. Thanks, Lily. And that's our special FOSI feature for today. Show number 647. We'll be back on Friday live at our usual time and our usual channels. Hope to see you then. In the meantime, sail fast, sail safe, and have fun. Ciao for now.